Hey, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm meteorologist Michaela Smith. Here's a look at your Friday forecast. We have a marginal risk of severe weather. That's that level 1 out of 5, all the way from the southern parts of the Ohio Valley through Kentucky, Middle Tennessee, and down through really most of Alabama into the western parts of Georgia. And then we have a slight risk. That's that level 2 out of 5 risk for south central Kentucky and Middle Tennessee. So for today, looking at the significant hail model, you can really, it just jumps up to you and already see where we're talking about these storms. Over the last several days, we've showed you the significant hail model, and you've been seeing maybe whites, grays mixing in, but we've talked about all week, when we start to get more into this yellow, orange, and red category, that's when it starts to be an indication to us that there is going to be hail. So here's what we're looking at for today. It's about 8 o'clock this evening. You're still seeing quite a bit of these bright oranges and yellows through Tennessee, Mississippi, Alabama especially. And then as we head more to the overnight hours, that is going to start to dwindle down some. So the hail threat will go down, but there's going to be storm chances even through the afternoon, possibly tomorrow for your Saturday. And you can kind of see this revamps along the East Coast Saturday evening and going into Sunday. So here's a little bit of a closer look. This is 4 p.m. where these storms initially can develop. Western Tennessee, so Memphis, you're going to see in parts of Kentucky too, maybe far eastern parts of Arkansas and Missouri. That's where we're going to watch for those initial storms to develop. Now, those storms that first fire up, if they stay isolated in nature, they're going to have the better chance to have large hail. You can see that with the significant hail model. As this gets a little bit later in the evening, these colors start to diminish a little bit more, but you can still see quite a few yellows and oranges across Tennessee and Alabama. And then this starts to transfer more into Georgia overnight Saturday, again into really Friday night into Saturday. And then as you go towards Saturday afternoon, that's where it kind of redevelops along the East Coast, which is why we'll watch for storms possible still tomorrow on your Saturday. So talking about the chance for hail today, you can see quite a few of us are going to be in this risk. This yellow area highlighted extends from Lexington, Tupelo, you're going to be in this yellow shaded region, Montgomery, Alabama, Atlanta, you're just on the edge, Knoxville as well, you're just on the edge. That's going to be the chance for quarter to maybe ping pong size hail in some of those stronger storms. But really this area highlighted in orange, that's where we're focusing on the possibility for larger hail today, talking about 2-inch size hail. So that's hen, egg, lime size. And then I also highlighted for you who has maybe that better chance, that risk level of actually seeing hail. So you can see that risk level here. We have the green is low, yellow is going to be moderate. And I went ahead and made Nashville and Birmingham more in that moderate area. Just if you're really anywhere in kind of Middle Tennessee, Bowling Green, Kentucky too, you're going to be talking about the better chance to see some hail as we go from this afternoon into this evening. So like we just talked about, maximum hail size for today, we put it about 2 inches, so that's going to be roughly hen egg. Not every single storm is going to have hail this large. In fact, most storms today will not see hail this large, but there could still be some golf ball size hail, ping pong size hail reported too. But again, we think about hen egg size would be that maximum threat for hail today. Now there's also the chance for tornadoes, and even this update comes in just around 11:30. We kind of increase the storm chances, the tornado risk for areas like Nashville. So we have 2 areas that we're watching for today. This northern zone that's going to be south central Kentucky, so Bowling Green you're included in that, just on the edge of Lexington. Nashville you're going to be more in this yellow region, so that's that moderate risk for a tornado this afternoon. And then the secondary area is more towards the south, so Montgomery, Alabama, Albany, Georgia, you're going to be kind of included more in this secondary risk. But I do want to zoom in just a little bit closer, pop a few more cities on here. So again, Lexington, you're just on the edge of this lower tornado threat. But regardless of where you are on this map, if you're in the green, if you're in the yellow, or if you know anybody in the green and the yellow, make sure you give them a heads up just that they can stay weather aware this afternoon. We do talk about severe weather chances in the fall. It is still possible to have storms and tornadoes in the fall. So we do want to give everyone kind of a heads up and highlight this area today, especially this middle part of Tennessee. Knoxville, you're just on the edge again of that tornado threat for today, but Chattanooga, you are still considered in that lower risk area. But wherever these storms develop, you could still have those chances for tornadoes, even if you're outside of that yellow risk. Along with the tornado threat today, there's also going to be the threat for some strong winds. Storms initially, like we talked about, are going to have more supercell tendency, so those are the ones that could spin more and give us the larger hail potential. But eventually tonight, these storms are going to start to kind of cluster together and form a line. When that happens, our concern is less about the large hail at that point and more about those strong straight line winds and still keeping the possibility for maybe a quick brief spin up tornado. So as you look at this wind forecast, you can see highlighted again in this large area that we're talking about, but then we kind of pinpointed area that's a little bit darker, areas like you can see Nashville, Knoxville, Birmingham. That's where it's going to be a little bit higher of a probability that you could see some stronger wind gusts, more between that 74. I don't think we'll get all the way up to about 95 miles per hour, talking about maybe 74, 80, 85 with some real strong wind gusts today. Kind of more when these storms form a line this afternoon. So risk level, again, Knoxville, Nashville, Birmingham, all put you at a moderate risk, but that doesn't mean if you're in areas like Atlanta, Montgomery, you still don't need to be paying attention to the weather this afternoon. Regardless of where those storm chances are, you will want to stay weather aware. Now, with being Nashville kind of highlighted today, I did want to take a moment just to focus specifically on Nashville. I know there's quite a few people there. It's a pretty popular tourist area too. You get the bachelor, bachelorette parties, that kind of thing. And with it being a weekend, a lot of people may not be paying attention to the weather. So again, if at any point in time, you know someone that's going to be there, you know someone that lives there, give them a heads up about those storm chances today. Maximum size hail is going to be around 2 inches, so that's again lime to hen size, pretty large, can cause damage. And we're talking about the timeline specifically for Nashville to be between about 4 p.m. and 8 p.m. So pausing this at 5 o'clock, you can see these showers and storms around Nashville. Some of them have already passed to the east at that point, but these little individual ones are the ones we're going to have to watch closely first before they form that line, because that's going to be where we have that larger hail potential, but also the potential to see a tornado. Chance for 1 inch hail that's around quarter size is still pretty moderate, and the chance of hail being greater than around golf ball size, also moderate, because again, we're talking about maximum hail size possible today would be around 2 inches. This is 8 o'clock in the evening. At that point, I think Nashville, your risk for severe weather at that point is basically over. South of there, though, in Middle Tennessee still, and moving towards Eastern Tennessee, you are still going to be dealing with storms. So Chattanooga, you're not even seeing some of these storms just yet. That's going to get closer to about, so showing you 10, 11 o'clock tonight that these storms are getting closer to Chattanooga. And that's when they really have kind of formed more of a line too. So that's when we talk about maybe less of a hail threat and more of a wind threat at that point as the storms transition. So I want to show you more of this wide view so you can see not only Tennessee, but parts of Kentucky as well, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia. This is 1 o'clock this afternoon. Then we get to right around 5 o'clock. We're seeing some of these isolated, larger storms possible. Some of these storms that are kind of on their own too. You see these reds here. Those are the ones we're watching for carefully. This model is giving us a little large storm coming out of Kentucky, moving into the middle parts of Tennessee. So this again is 5 o'clock this evening. People getting off of work at this time, they might be caught in their car. Not an ideal situation for these storms to be hitting really around that time. Then you get to 8 o'clock. At this point, you're really starting to see more of that line forming, but there could still be a few more isolated storms in nature at that point. Once we get to about 10, 11 o'clock, like we talked about, at that point, little less likely that we're seeing isolated storms. More at that point, it's a cluster, and that's when that wind threat and why we kind of highlighted areas like Knoxville down to Atlanta, because you're going to see those storms late tonight, more to the overnight hours. Atlanta, you're going to see more of this activity after about midnight moving in, and then eventually those storms will kind of fall apart, fizzle out 3, 4 o'clock in the morning.